welcome to the Rundown with Dr. Ciarrah, where we discuss all things running. It is our last episode of the year, and I am super excited. If you are new to our channel, then welcome, and if you are not, then welcome back. So today we're talking about running biomechanics, and I am excited about today because I think as a runner, we all just want to run as efficiently as possible. So today we're going to break down some of the faults that are commonly seen during running. We're going to talk about how you can run more efficiently. So let's jump right in. So I just want to note that there is no perfect way to run. There are multiple variations of how you can run. There are certain ways that you can do things. There are many variations. And for those of you who have been running for a long period of time, I know you're probably like, well, if it's not broken, why do I need to fix anything? That is very true. I would agree with that, except for if you are running in such a way that you are causing harm to your body, or if you are creating more problems for the future, then I would just give some tips and suggestions on how we can fix certain things. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's comfortable. You have to do what has been working for you. I mean, if you've been running for years and you've never had any injury, then maybe that is what just works for your body. Everyone is different, so not everything will work for everyone. I just wanted to make that note so that you don't feel like you need to change the entire way of how you've been running. This video is just to provide you with a few more tips of how you can run more efficiently. So let's talk about 3 common faults. The first one is Geniu Valgus at your knees. The second one is overstriding, and the third one is crossover stepping. We're going to talk about all 3 of these in greater detail. So if you watch any of my previous videos, we have definitely talked about Jingy Valgus before. But for those who may not have watched those videos, I just want to be clear on what we're talking about so you're not confused. And so Jingy Valgus is when your knees, maybe we'll just, let's say these are your knees, and then they collapse inward when you put your foot down. So that's during heel strike. And the reason that happens is because you have muscles that are weak and they're unable to support the forces of the body as it hits the ground. So which muscles are weak? It can be a combination of multiple muscles. It can be that your ankle muscles are very weak, that they're unable to stabilize the leg when you're going down for heel strike, when that foot hits that initial contact of the ground. And it could also be that your hip muscles are weak, your gluteus medius. Now, these muscles are very important for stabilization. You do not want to have weak muscles because they can cause further problems, especially if you're running. Now, we all know that running is a high impact sport. And so if your muscles aren't strong enough to withstand the forces as your body is hitting the ground each step that you take, then that can definitely lead to further injury. So a way that we can prevent that and have improved biomechanics when we're running is to strengthen those muscles. You just want to make sure that you are putting yourself in a position to run as efficiently as possible. Now, I will also note that one of the ways, you may not be familiar with what Geniu Valgus is, but a way that you can kind of check and see if you are a person who does this is that you can squat in front of a mirror and see if your knees go inward and touch. Now, if they do, that's just an indication that you need to spend some time strength training and strengthening those hip muscles. And if it's not coming from your hips, then it is a possibility that it's coming from your ankle muscles. You just need to look at the whole leg as a chain. You want to determine which muscles are weak so that when you go for your run, that you are not causing any unnecessary stress on those muscles and that you're running as efficiently as possible. I know it keeps saying efficient runner, efficient runner, efficient runner, but I think that it is very important to note that an efficient runner is someone who is able to stabilize the load of their body during that load and response while they're running. And if you are able to properly control that, then it will decrease the risk of injury. That's why I keep saying that is so important, because let's just say that you are not able to stabilize that leg when you're running, then you're more likely to injure another area in your body, more than likely your knee, just because that is the area that a lot of the force goes towards while you're running. So if you are able to control that load as much as possible, then you're just setting yourself up to have less injury while you're running. And I think that's important because as runners, we are on our schedule. We want to run as much as we possibly can. And if we have a goal, we're trying to hit a new PR. So you have to keep your body as healthy as you possibly can. And these are ways that you can make sure. And strength training, I speak so much about that. It is definitely important to have that strength training component a part of your normal running schedule. So next, let's talk about overstriding. I know you're probably like, what is that fancy word? What does that even mean? Well, if you are a runner and you notice that when you're running, you take very large steps, then you are quite possibly an overstrider. So if when you're putting your foot down, your leading leg is so far away from your body, then it is possible that you are overstriding. Now, this is not the way that you should be running. This is not an efficient way to run, just because as you are running and you take each large step, that means that you are braking. You may not realize it, but you're braking each time you put that foot down because your body is having to catch up to your leg. Now, you want to just maybe get someone to record you while you're running so that you're able to see your body in different angles. And I assure you that if you think you know how you look when you run, if you get someone to record it, it's going to look totally different. And you're going to become aware of things that you never knew. You're going to be like, I didn't even know that I was doing that. So I think it's important just to get some footage to see how you run, to make yourself aware if you are even overstriding or not. But it's very important because you are not running as efficiently as you possibly can with overstriding. So with overstriding, because you're getting your foot so far away from your body, oftentimes it is seen where the person, because their foot is so far out ahead of them, that they lean back. Now, you definitely don't want to be doing that while you're running. One, I mean, that just creates even more problems. So you could be leaning back with every step. So now, one, you're putting extra stress on your back. But then also, because of the way that you're running, your feet are so far away from your body, you're putting that extra stress on your heels during that heel strike. You don't want to have a heel injury. And then also just the mechanics of your leg, you are creating those extra forces in the front part of your leg, shin. And you know, with runners, we talk about how that's a common injury. So you want to avoid that because you don't want to have shin splints. I mean, these are painful things that just will make it harder for you to run in the long run. But, you know, if you become aware of what you're doing, then, you know, there's a way that you can fix it. Now, with overstriding, obviously the first thing is to shorten your steps. I mean, that will correct the mechanics in itself, because if you are making shorter steps, then it won't be that you have so far to, you know, move your body. It just makes it a lot smoother. Now, I know another thing, it could be that you need some cues, and I think a good cue for overstriders is to, you know, run with a specific cadence. Now, the gold standard cadence, I think, is good to note that it's 180 beats per minute. Now, if you are running according to that, then I believe that you will see an improvement, because when you hear like that certain beat in your head, like have to pick my feet up, and you know that you have to do it to a certain beat, then it will prevent you from getting your foot so far up, because you're not going to make it. Like each single time your foot needs to be hitting the ground, if you are running like that in your head and you can hear it, you know that you got to keep going, get your feet on a certain rhythm. But if they're so far apart, you're going to miss those beats and it makes it harder. So that's just a cue that you can use while you're running to help keep your body upright, make sure your feet are not getting too far away from you, because you don't want to be leaning while you're running. You don't want to create even more problems. You don't want you to have shin splints. You just want to make sure that you, again, are running as efficiently as possible. So next, let's talk about crossover stepping. So what is that? So we have our body and we have a midline. And as you're walking, there's a certain pattern that your feet should be in. Now, if you are crossing over that midline repeatedly, then while you're walking or running, then it is likely that you are a crossover stepper. Now, is that the proper way to run? No. Is it that big of a deal? Maybe not, but if you are crossing over too far in midline, then that is a possibility. That is an indicative that you may have some weak hip muscles. So you want to pay attention to that, and you have to look and see like, hey, when I'm running, are my legs crossing over? Am I tripping over my own 2 feet because I'm going too far over? And you can look at your shoes and notice like, hey, am I having a lot of wear and tear on the inside of my shoe because my other shoe is hitting or they're rubbing? Like, what's going on here? I need to know. This is an indication that you may have weak hips and you need to address this. You, again, want to have as less injury as you possibly can. So if you notice that you're seeing that crossover pattern, you want to take some time and make sure that you're strengthening your hips, making sure that they're strong enough to not go past that midline and that you're able to run in a straight, efficient way where you're not crossing over, your knees aren't touching, you're not tripping over your feet, you're not causing problems on your own while you're running. So you just need to identify if that is happening, because again, if it is, you need to fix it so that you can be as efficient as possible when you're running. Now, earlier in the video, I did mention that you could get someone to record you. Now, that was really more so just to see like if you were overstriding or if you were leaning back. But I do believe that in order to make sure that you are running as efficient as possible, and maybe you are not able to identify some of the faults that are there when you're running, you want to seek professional help and get them to do a proper analysis of your running. Now, one of the things, you may get your friend to record and you may not be able to catch or pick up on everything. So that's why I think it's very important to get or seek some professional help so that you can get the proper analysis that can properly identify the faults that you have when you're running. So we talked about the faults of the lower extremity. Now let's talk a little bit about the upper extremity. Now I think it's very important to know that the upper extremity is just as important. Yes, we use our legs to run, but our arms are what help to propel us forward. They have a role in our speed. So we need to talk about how we can efficiently use our arms while we're running as well. Now, I know I have seen arms do a whole lot of different things while people are running. I want to note that when you are running, just similar to the feet, your arms really should not be crossing over your body when you're running. You think of your body in, this is your midline. Your arms should not be going from side to side like this. You're doing a lot of rotation in the trunk. You're moving your body more than you really need to be. And you're working harder than you have to be. Now, if your body, you're upright and you're moving, your arms should just be pumping by your side. That is a correct and proper way to run. And now, some people are like, oh, well, that's just what I do. I move. Just trying to show you different things that you can think about if you are doing them. Is just pointing out that there are weaknesses in your body when you're running. So if you are doing that, then you may need to do some core, some trunk work, because you should not have to rotate your body so much while you're running and should be able to run upright with your arms by your side. I think it's important to note that during the gait cycle or the running cycle, that a lot happens in a short amount of time. So you have to be careful with your running. You have to be mindful of where you're running, how much force is going through your body and your legs when you're running. So that is based on the surface and, what kind of shoes you're running. All of these things play a role in your running. And you just want to make sure that you're mindful of these things so that they don't cause any injury, that you can focus on the run and do everything you need to do so you can be as efficient as possible. Now, one of the takeaway points that I want to leave with you is that you need to definitely look at your body as two halves, right? And you want to make sure that when you're running, you're not crossing over that midline, whether it be your feet or whether it be your arms. You want to make sure that your body is upright, that there's not a whole lot of rotation happening in your upper body, in your pelvis. You want to make sure that you are running in a smooth motion and it's not jagged, that you're not overstriding, your body is not in weird positions when you're running. You want to kind of be upright. You want to make sure that your body is pretty loose. You don't want to run with clenched fists. You want to just run as smooth and comfortable as you possibly can. You want to be relaxed when you're running, because if you run with a whole bunch of stress and tension in your body, it kind of makes it hard for your body and your muscles to work work the way that they're supposed to work because you're so tense. You just have to relax your body. Your run shouldn't be stressful. It should be relaxing. It should be comforting. It should be a way to just kind of ease your mind. So you need to just relax your body so that you can have the best run that you possibly can. So I hope that today you learned some new information, make you think about your runs and how you're running and possibly some things that you need to change. I definitely encourage everyone to have a running or a gait analysis done to see and pick up on some of the mechanics that you're doing when you're running and some of the impairments that may be coming out of your runs. It's important to note those things, figure out what you need to do, if you need to strengthen anything, and then just so you can have better runs all the way around. Well, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I love just talking about running so much. If you have any comments, please leave them below. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And we will talk to y'all in 2022. Thanks for watching The Rundown with Dr. Ciarrah, where we talk about all things running. I'll see y'all next year.